Hey everyone, my name is Clyde. Welcome to Clyde Plays. Although it appears relatively simplistic and slow-moving, World of Warships is a pretty complicated game. It's deeply tactical and strategic, and there's just gobs and buckets of data that you need to be able to know or have ready access to in order to be an informed player. Now, these informed players I'm talking about, they know more about how the game works, and they also know how it's going to work a few patches ahead of when that information becomes available. This knowledge benefits them not only on the battlefield, but also when it comes to planning their economic strategy in their ports as well. So outside of the matches, we can make better decisions about how to spend our resources, credits, steel, coal, whatever. Where do these informed players get this information? How do we go from being an uninformed player to being an informed player? In today's video, I am going to share with you all of my favorite sources of information, my tools, websites, whatever, about World of Warships. Some of you guys might be long-term veterans. Maybe you've heard of all of these tools, or maybe just some of them. You might just learn about your new favorite World of Warships website in today's video. And if you're a newer player, this could be really valuable to you. If you're not quite ready to dive into all this data, maybe bookmark or save this video. You might want to come back to it after you've played a couple hundred more matches and you're ready for some of this content. As always, of course, I will leave links to all of the websites, pages, tools, whatever that I'm talking about today in the description down below. And I will also bookmark this video so that when you send it to friends or share it with your clan, you can point them at specific sections and it'll be easy for them to find those sections in the video. Of course, for me, it's very beneficial if you just watch the whole video because that helps my relationship with YouTube. However, I understand that your guys' time is valuable and I want you to get to the stuff that you care about fast. If you do like the video, please click the like button and send it to a friend. That is immensely helpful for a small YouTube channel like mine. And of course, if I missed talking about a really great World of Warships tool or website or something, throw it in the comments below. I always talk on my Twitch channel and my YouTube channel about how this is an educational program. This whole Clyde Plays thing is an educational thing, and about 9 times out of 10, I'm the one getting educated. So anyway, with all of that out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and get into it and we'll start talking about our first tool. The first website I want to share with you guys is called Shiptool. It's at shiptool.st as in Sierra Tango. You can check this tool out. It's got a bunch of great information here. They update this regularly. And what this is a really good database of ship data. You can click on the Nations tab here and they've got all of the different countries here across the top. You can select Germany or Italy or what have you. If we stick with the USA, we can scroll down, click on something like Montana, and we've got all of the attributes of these ships right here. You don't have to launch the client, which can take a few minutes, as we all know, and you can just check out all of these comparable stats on the ships. You can also click on this main battery and see the firing angles and where the turrets turn and compare those across battleships. For example, Montana's firing angles here are about 33 degrees. If we go and take a look at something like, let's go to Germany. We'll come down here to Friedrich der Grosse, which we know doesn't have very good turning angles. We come down here to the main battery. And it's got a 41-degree angle here, so not quite as wide open as Montana's. It's a great way to understand how much you're going to have to expose your broadside. And you can use this to kind of understand that. If you click on these modules here, you can actually de-upgrade or upgrade the ship as you either do or don't have it configured in your port. So I find this to be a really powerful tool. You can also take a look at the AP and HE shells here. What this line is showing is the trajectory of the shells. We'll stay here on FDG. And this is at a range of 12 kilometers. You can see up here in the upper left corner. If I click on that, I can bring up that range, move it up to 25 kilometers. We can see how high that arc gets. The ellipse that's down below here, ellipse is an oval, right? That shows the dispersion of those shells at those various ranges. So it always starts off at 12 kilometers, but you can see how dense the scatter plot is down here and things of that nature. You can do the same thing for the HE shells, and you can also take a look at secondaries. This shows you the firing angles of your secondaries, and it shows you important things like flight time at the range that we're talking about. If you go out to 11 kilometers or something, you can see how long your flight time is, and those kinds of numbers are going to help affect the accuracy of the secondaries. Obviously, there's a lot to get into here. I don't want to teach you about secondaries in this video, but I wanted to show you this tool because I think it's really cool. You can also check out things like Destroyer. Let's go to Japan, and we'll grab Shimakaze, and we can see information about the torpedoes. We can see the torpedo firing angles here. Look at these, they come out 55 degrees. If we scroll down, we have premium ships down below. I happen to know Yubari has terrible torpedo angles. Look at these. just 80 degrees off of the direction of travel here. So you can definitely get a comparison of how easy it is to torpedo something with the torpedoes, things like that. And of course, all the other attributes are there as well. The most popular thing, the most common thing that I come to ShipTool for is this filtered section right here. You can select any ships that you want using this complex and powerful filter set to just compare different ships. So you can turn on Tech Tree, Premium, Test, or Decorative ships. Decorative ships are things like the Loyang B versus the Loyang, or the Massachusetts B versus the Massachusetts. It also includes things like Ship Smasha, which is a version of the Fenyang, for example. So they're no different from the other ships, but they're decorative, or the ARP Miyokos, for example. You can turn on different classes, and then I'm going to turn on all of the countries as well. This is every ship in the game right here. It's a very long list, and it's difficult to compare ships in there. So obviously, say I wanted to look at something like Tier 9 Japanese battleships. I could go like this. We'd go none. We'd choose battleships. We'd roll the tiers up to 9. By the way, this does include tier 11. You can see up here, I just switched it to, on the slider, I switched it to 11. But we'll go to tier 9, and we'll say no countries, and now we'll add Japan in. And this gives me a list. I'll shrink down so you can see it, of all of the tier 9 Japanese battleships. I can turn off the premiums if we just want to look at Izumo, or we can turn off the tech tree ships if we just want to compare, Hyzen, Iwami, and Musashi. That's all well and good, but what if I really just wanted to compare Hyzen and Musashi, and I thought this filter wasn't that great? In fact, there's a better example. Let me go to tier 8 British cruisers, because that's a longer list, I happen to know. Look at all these ships in here, and it's hard for me to compare like Edinburgh and Belfast 43 because they're kind of far apart on the list. Well, never fear. If you click on to the left of the filter, it's kind of covered by my Clyde logo up here in the corner. I apologize, but there's a section called Selected. You can click on that, and I can just go in here and I can type in Edinburgh, and it brings up Edinburgh, and I can type in Belfast, and it gives me the Belfast 43. So now I have a filter that is specifically just the 2 ships that I want to look at. And I can come in here and take a look at their attribute. But we can see their tier. This is the general button here. These are called radio buttons in web and software design. So when you choose one of these, it switches to different data. And when we select general, it's got things like hit points, it has the tier, it has their detectability by sea and by air, rudder shift, just basic ship attributes. But if we want to take a look, for example, at the main battery, this shows us the AP DPM for the 2 ships and their HE DPM. Now, of course, Belfast 43 has HE shells, Edinburgh does not, so we have an N/A for not applicable right there. AP salvos are exactly the same amount of damage. HE salvo, of course, only exists on Belfast 43. We can take a look at the reload time. 10 seconds on Belfast and 7.5 seconds here on Edinburgh. We can take a look at the DPM as well. So Edinburgh's AP DPM is better than Belfast, and that's due to this reload time, and we can kind of see how that all works out. Take a look at values about dispersion, and of course the sigma value. Sigma is a measure of accuracy. Higher numbers are better. So if you have a ship with a 1.5 sigma, that's worse than a ship with a 2.0 sigma. It shows the flight time here, and these are all based on this this firing range number here at the top right of the main battery table. We can click on these arrows to raise it up and bring it back down. And I apologize, you can't see my cursor because of the way this is working with OBS. But I can increase and decrease that firing range to see what as the flight time changes as we go up to higher ranges. If we look at the AP shells table, it shows us things like the initial speed and the drag coefficient. Now, we don't get drag coefficient in the World of Warships client, but we can see it here on ShipTool. So you may see ships that have the same initial muzzle velocity, the same initial speed, that's right here in the middle kind of this table, but they have different drag coefficients, and so those which with a greater drag coefficient have a higher arcing shell because they travel slower, so we have to fire them higher, and they lob a worse arc than those with a higher muzzle velocity and a lower drag coefficient. In this case, the Edinburgh and Belfast happen to be the same. Flight time is the same at 15 kilometers. We can see the impact speed is the same as well. On other ships, though, that is different and unique, and it helps you to understand why some ships have a higher arcing, trajectory for their shells, even if their initial velocity of the shell is the same. We can see ricochet chance over here. If you look at the third from the right column, the ricochet chance is better on Edinburgh. It's actually improved. We want those numbers to be higher. The ricochet range basically is the distance between a maybe ricochet and a guaranteed ricochet. And there's more metrics about this that you can find inside this website and others as well, so you can check that out. So a lot of information about the HE shells, or the AP shells, excuse me. When you click on HE shells, it takes away the Edinburgh because it doesn't have any, but we get all the attributes about the Belfast 43 shells. We can take a look at the secondaries. We can see the secondary DPM. It's just gobs and gobs of data. I keep saying gobs, that's a dumb word, but it's just loads of data about these two ships. Say I wanted to add in another one, I was like, let's get Tiger 59 in the mix. I could do that now. And then of course look at AP shells. It doesn't have any secondaries, the Tiger, so it didn't show up in that list right away. If we take a look at torpedoes, only Edinburgh and Belfast have those, but we can take a look at their various torpedo armaments. We can see that Edinburgh has 2 more kilometers over Belfast, so that helps us to understand those two ships. Look at the AA build, or the AA, I should say, statistics of each ship and their consumables. I find this website to be incredibly powerful, and it's so fast and easy to use. It makes it very easy. Somebody goes, hey, what's the deal with that? We're talking about a ship on my Discord. I come over here to ShipTool and I do my research here. I get more questions about this tool than about any other tool. This is called WOW's Monitor, and what it does is at the beginning of every match of World of Warships, it looks at the replay file that Warships creates, and it queries a Wargaming API to get the statistics for those players and those ships. Now, API stands for Application Programming Interface, and that is basically a way that 2 computers can talk to each other. In this case, it's your computer that you're playing video games on, and the computer that's a Wargaming server somewhere that has all of our stats on it. What I do with this is I look at my ship at the beginning of every match and I go, okay, well, on this ship, my average damage is 50,000. So I want to try to beat that number. And, oh, okay, I'm actually pretty comfortable with this ship. This ship agrees with me. It's 7.59% better in this ship than it is on my account as a whole. So I should be pretty comfortable here, right? We should never, ever, ever use WOW's Monitor to stat shame a player or to harass them for their capabilities or lack thereof. And we should also remember that potatoes have great games some days and Unicum players have terrible games some days. So we should never use WOW's Monitor to decide if this game is worth playing or not. Every game of World of Warships is worth playing. We should always play to win. It is a never give up, never surrender attitude that we need in order to be good members of the World of Warships community. All of that aside, the other thing about WOW's Monitor that's important to know is that if you're the kind of player who never wants to know the odds, you're kind of Han Solo flying through an asteroid field, then perhaps this isn't a good thing for you to have on your computer. I know players who've installed WOW's Monitor and it just made them so angry that they had such terrible matchmaking or whatever that they ended up uninstalling it and they were happier not having it installed. So if you think that might be you, recognize that and don't use this tool. If you can handle it though, if it's the kind of thing that won't drive you to madness, then I think this is a really useful tool. So this tool is called WOW's Numbers. It is a website that is kind of like WOW's Monitor, but it's not like a real-time app that reloads every time you go into a game. It uses the same API to pull the same data to show you the same stuff, but I like this one for just checking out my personal stats or looking into my clan stats, or maybe looking up cool streamers I know to see how good they are, because some of those streamers are really, really good. Today we're going to look up a streamer who's pretty average. Yeah, we're going to look me up. So we'll go and we'll look up my stats here, see if this actually works. There he is. We'll click on this. You can look on right here, you can change your server. You can choose EU, NA, RU, or Asia. Of course, I play on NA primarily. So this is my account. Like I said, I'm a fairly average player. Many of you guys already know this. If you don't, I hope you're sitting down. Like, I don't want this to cause you any distress. My win rate is 52.41%. We can see that right here. You can click these buttons across the top here to change to whether you're solo. My win rate goes down when I play solo. When I click in a 2-player division, my win rate really goes down. And when I play in a 3-player division, my win rate is the best. It is almost 55%. Well, 54.74. So if you click on random battles, it is all 3 of those. You can also check your ranked battles win rate by clicking on the ranked battles button. I'm much better at ranked battles than I am. Don't look at these numbers over here. These are embarrassing numbers over on the right. Ignore those. But you'll notice that things like clan battles and some of the other game modes are not here. And that's because this API hasn't been updated in years and years. World of Warships has kind of let this kind of fall on the wayside. That said, I think it's still a really valuable tool for us to kind of understand our own personal performance. You can see your PR. I'm going to do a video about PR one day, but I haven't done it yet. You can see your total number of battles. I've played almost 11,000 random battles in World of Warships. This does not include my co-ops or my ranked battles or my clan battles or anything. This is just random battles. And you can see your recent games. Like if I'd played any games today, they would show up in this column in the middle here. You can see your last week and your last 21 days. Sometimes these ranges change a little bit. Sometimes this one's like last 55 days or something. I don't really know why that happens, but you can see that I've been playing pretty well lately. I've been playing better than my overall account win rate, and that's helping me get improve those numbers. So good on you, Clyde. My PR, however, has suffered. Both of these are a little bit lower. My PR is not particularly high. Again, I'm a pretty average World of Warships player. I can see my average damage is blue, though, so that's pretty good. I'm working my way up on the damage scale. I can scroll down here and see by my PR by ship type. So cruisers, aircraft carriers, battleships, and destroyers. CVs, I am super mega bad, and I'm pretty much the same in all the other classes. We can see my win rate by class. We can see that battleships, for some reason, are easy for me compared to the other classes. Destroyers are my next best thing. And we see here that, at least for me, cruisers are the hardest at 51.05% win rate. And I think that's actually true. I think cruiser is the hardest class. Fight me in the comments below. Down here, they show some charts that show your numbers. Now, remember, these are Euro dates. So for us Americans, they're backwards, but for everyone else in the world, they're the correct way around. This is the 8th of whatever 5 is, May, and this is the 31st of July. So we can see that since May, my win rate has been climbing. I went on vacation right here, and so you can see where I quit playing games in the middle. I can't really, I guess if I highlight like this, you can kind of see a box. I wish my cursor was on there. But you can see that I went on vacation, so there's kind of a flat line there towards the end. Over here on the PR section, there was a change to the database
on WoW's numbers,
which caused everyone to lose a bunch of PR. So don't worry, I didn't get really bad right there. They actually adjusted all of our PRs, and I've been trying to climb back up ever since. We can see my damage has been climbing, my experience has been climbing, which is pretty cool. The next table here shows you your battles per month. Apparently in January, I had some time off work because I played a lot of games here in January. Down here it talks about the nations that I play. I play obviously quite a few different countries, USA, Japan, Germany, and USSR, and I guess the UK as well, being the 5 big ones for me. And over here I play a lot of cruisers, a lot of destroyers, a little bit of battleships, and not very many aircraft carrier games. Down here we can see warships. This lists every ship that you have ever played on your account. It won't list ships if you've never played them. So if you bought a ship but never played a match, they won't show up in this list. If you bought a ship, played it a bunch, and then sold it, it will show up in this list. So this is not a list of ships that are in your port. It's a list of ships that you have played and have stats for. If we come in here, I like to put my minimum battles to around 40. That way I'm looking at ships that I've actually played enough battles in that things are statistically significant. You can see that I like pain, so my most played ship is Khabarovsk, and a lot of these battles are from back before they nerfed it, and I still like Kaba, but she's not really the best ship to have played a lot of battles in. And when I was a youngster and I played this game long ago, I played a lot of games in the Murmansk. She was one of my only premiums for a long time. But we can see I played a lot of games in Zao as well, because again, I like pain and being underpowered. Leningrad, Gremiashi, Yubari, why, Clyde? You terrible human. Or don't Seal Club. But we can use these filters up here. These look a lot like the filters on ShipTool that we talked about earlier. So we could say, like, what's your best tier 7 ship, and sort by battles. Maybe I want to sort by win rate and see that in Sims, I've played 55 battles in the Sims and I've won almost 62% of them. I'm pretty good at the Sims. Or maybe better spoken, Sims is pretty compatible with the way that I play World of Warships. And look at this, the HUD is pretty good too, 61.7. What if we go up to, what's my best tier 9? For me, it's Yugamo, 52 battles. Now, if I set this down to 1 battle, I am undefeated in the black. Well, sure, but that's pretty cheesy, so that's why we go to 40. And of course, you can filter, you can turn off, and just, maybe I just want to look at DDs. What's my best DD at tier, 7 through 9? and I can do a filter there and do this. My worst DD ever, look at this. This is embarrassing. The top 2 DDs on my worst win rate ever are Fletcher and Akazuki, 2 known ships that are excellent, and I am terrible at them. Now, I played both of these ships a long time ago, so I'm probably a better WoWs player now than I was then, but oh my gosh, they're in the 30s. I was such a potato. So, you can come in and do this kind of research on your own account or on my account. You can come look me up, I don't care. So anyway, you can do that. You can also look up a warship. So like say I wanted to look up, let's look up the Black. USS Black is a tier 9 premium destroyer. We can click on the Black. It'll take us to this page. We can see this first table is really neat. It compares it against other destroyers of tier 9. And we can sort by things like average damage. We can sort by win rate. And this is just a list of all the tier 9 destroyers. So here's the Black. What did I sort by? I sorted by win rate down. If we go up, we can see that Black is the second best US destroyer on NA. Remember, these are just NA numbers. Right behind Benham. These are both premiums. New Strashimi is a premium. The best tech tree tier 9 destroyer for win rate on NA is Chungmu at tier 9. So that's pretty wild, right? Like, we might not think of Chungmu as a very powerful destroyer, but it wins more games than Mogador and Jutland and Z46 and Udaloy and Kitakaze and Ostergotland. So that's kind of interesting. What about average damage, right? We can sort here. Look at this. Felix Schultz is a tech tree destroyer. The best damaging destroyer on NA is Felix Schultz. Then it's Kitakaze, then it's Benham. So we have these 2 tech tree ships that are very powerful. Anyway, we can also scroll down here and see the best players in World of Warships for the USS Black. So you have to have a minimum of 40 battles to appear in this table. So you can't just go out and have one amazing game and then be the top guy in this table. In this case, we can see that this guy in the Idiot Clan, named Renamed User, is the best player for PR in the USS Black. On NA now, granted that. And here's a fellow CC Maltese Knight down here. Anyway, you get the idea. You can come in here and do a lot of ship-based research for each of your ships. So that is what WoW's Numbers is all about. This next tool I want to talk about is one of my absolute favorites. This one isn't really about, well, I guess it is kind of about ship parameters sometimes. The World of Warships development blog is the place where Wargaming will announce upcoming changes to the game first. If you've ever watched my Clyde Plays News series, which I film live on my Twitch streams and then I edit and clean up just a little bit and put on over on YouTube, this is where most of that data comes from. And of course you guys have seen this website on my videos, and so of course you knew that, but you might not know where it is or how to get there. I always include those links in the news articles, and I'll include a link to the development blog in this description or video description as well. So for example, this first article right here talks about season 18 of clan battles. This is where they first officially announced the maps that are going to be used in clan battles this upcoming season. This came out on July 27th. The new season, I think, starts on like the 15th of August. So you've got 2, maybe 3 weeks to play with these maps if you're going to be a try-hard clan and really try to get into some training rooms and develop some plans to use this information, which, I don't know exactly when or if this has already been announced on the Warships website, but this is the first place it was announced. So, for players who are serious about clan battles, this is a great place to watch for that kind of information. There's other stuff in here too. For example, when they first announced new ships, here's an article from 11.7 talking about new ships entering closed testing. And these ships are not available for purchase or for, buying for coal or steel or whatever, but they are here, and we can see our first pictures of the new cruiser Vallejo, the Velos, which is a Greek ship that's going to be entering the Pan-Euro line, as well as the Malta, which is a British aircraft carrier that's coming to the game. All these are premiums, and when they announced them, they also had this really cool section down here called Ships Parameters. Now, I cannot stress this enough. This is a development blog. This is not, here's what's coming out next week. These ships are now entering testing. They're not going to come out for a while. And these are the stats that they gave them when they entered testing. These are not the stats that are going to be on the ship, almost certainly, when they come out of testing. We're going to go in, we're going to see a bunch of games played on the test servers, and they're going to see those ships adjusted before they come out for purchase, whether that's coal or for money, doubloons, or whatever. But you can kind of get a peek at what it is Wargaming is trying to do with these ships. We can see how many hit points, how thick the armor is, how long the reload time is on the main battery, stuff like that. So if you're really interested in what's coming next, this can be valuable. And the reason why this is interesting is, you know, they don't always announce right away what the currency is going to be for these ships, but we can kind of get a hunch and an idea and be like, you know what, I think maybe Vallejo is going to come out for such and such a currency. I better start saving mine. We talked at the beginning of this video about planning your economic strategy just as much as we talked about helping you in battle by knowing more about the game. And this is kind of leaning on that thing. They also announced this, the methods of distribution of new ships on the dev blog. This tells us what resource we can buy those ships for. So Malta, for example, is a coal ship. Vallejo is going to be a steel ship. So now we know if you really like the sound of Vallejo, you can start saving your steel, things like that. So I find the dev blog to be really interesting. Of course, if this seems like a lot of work to you, don't worry about it. I put a video up on YouTube whenever anything interesting happens. Of course, if you say subscribe right here on Clyde Plays, you're gonna get all that news. This is possibly, I think I've said this a few times, this is probably one of my absolute favorite tools that I use for World of Warships stuff, and it is a Captain Builds document that I believe is actually owned by our very own Seraphice. Hi, Seraphice. You can check this doc out. You can see right now it's being read by about 44 different people. If we click up here, there's all these anonymous users are reading this document right now while I'm in there, which is pretty great. And you can basically come through here and scroll down. Here's all the acronyms that they use, the abbreviations, and you can look at builds for different ships that are basically ideal captain builds. Sometimes there's two builds, like here's a Haragumo, this is a traditional build, and this is a farming build. And it also includes the upgrades here, you might note. So you can see how to build the captain and how to build the upgrades as well. You can also come in here. What I do when I come here, I was like, oh, I'm on, I have a build for maybe for my Plymouth. So I come in, I hit Control F, I type Plymouth in there, and it brings me down to the section with the Plymouth. There, of course, are bookmarks here on the side as well. I can take a look at this Plymouth build. I go, that's not how I play it, but I wonder if I'm wrong. I do some analytical thinking. If I decide that I'm wrong and I want to adopt the build from this document, then I do. Sometimes what I do is I take a look at this and I go, this is really great, but I'm going to swap this for that because that's more my speed. And we have to have this kind of critical thought. This document is not full of all of the right answers in the world, but it is full of some pretty sound information, and you, of course, need to adapt to your own playstyle from there. For example, if we take a look at the Zhao, we talked about how there are multiple builds. Here's the standard Zhao build, again with upgrades, and then we can scroll down here and there's also a Jackass farm build. So, you know, it's a pretty lighthearted document, but like I said, one of the absolute best resources that's out there in the game is this, especially if you're getting up to those high point commanders. You'll also find some builds in here for things like Mikasa and Agincourt. These are not top tier ships, but it's worth checking these out and seeing if this helps you as well. So some of these unique lower tier ships are also covered in here. I love the idea that, you know, these COTS level players who've put together a lot of this information, Seraphice and friends, are like, you know what, let's get the ideal, the optimized Mikasa build. Let's get that out there for people. People are gonna wanna have a 21 point Mikasa build, but honestly, dude, I freaking love it. One thing that I think is really important for us to be informed about as players is the odds of the random chances in the various containers that are available in World of Warships. Some of these containers cost actual money. They cost doubloons, which is fun bucks, but they cost real live money, and we need to know what it is that we can expect to get out of those containers before we spend that money. Ideally, you know, we don't buy money containers, that's gambling, but sometimes sometimes the risk is worth it, right? The Santa's containers tend to be pretty good. We did some math last year and we found out the megas were the way to go, and we knew that from previous years as well. But you can see, for example, a Santa's mega gift container here, 16% chance to get a ship. And then you can see the odds within that ship chance, 12, 3, and 1, adding up to be 16% there. And then you can see the other items that you're just as likely to get. Now, 2,500 doubloons, 12,500 coal, some green or blue bonuses, and even some red bonuses. You know, is that worth what it costs to buy a Santa's mega gift container? Well, last year they were about $5 US. that's up to you. The good thing is all of these numbers are posted, and we can come use this tool, this web page, to know what they are before we exchange money, or even before we, grind a bunch of missions that might give us super containers or whatever. And we can just kind of understand what the odds are for reals. So be informed, use this page before you ever spend any money on loot boxes. Of course, there's the World of Warships wiki. I still find myself going to this webpage, even with things like shiptool and so on available. I still come to the wiki to look at some things because I have been coming to this website for years and years and years. Say I wanted to come in here and take a look at some French ships. We can bring in or click on the French ships there and come to this webpage. I can come down here and take a look at, say I wanted to look at some information about the reload time of Clyde. We can come down here and take a look at this. We've got main battery information all down the side and then some specific details down the middle. It also talks a little bit, there's a narrative here that's been written by a member of the Wiki team. There's some pros and cons about the ship, and you can also click this show to expand recommended captain perks. Now, it seems like in recent months or even years, the recommended captain perks on the wiki have been less and less relevant because I feel like it's a hard task for them to keep up with the changing meta and, of course, all of the new content that's coming into the game. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a look at this, I'll take a look at what's in the Seraphice document that we discussed earlier, and we'll see which one not necessarily like I have to choose one wholesale, but we'll see if they agree and kind of what I think, and we'll take it from there. If we come back here to the wiki homepage, we can also look at all of this information that's down below. For example, recently when we were doing the video about the economic rework, I spent a bunch of time in the economy section of the wiki looking at all of this information in here about how free experience is generated and all of this. There are formulas that used to be in here. Here's a really interesting table about the service cost of ships. So there's a lot of referenceable tabular data in here that I find really interesting and really useful. There's also information here about like armor penetration, gunnery and aiming, ammunition types. Here's the armor piercing ricochet chance table. There's some really useful information on the wiki here that is available. Like this ricochet information is available on shiptool, but it's presented in a different fashion here that sometimes is a little bit easier to reference for certain questions that you might be asking. So I really appreciate these pages, and whoever wrote them, thank you. And I do come here. Oh, I love these animations too. I use these animations all the time to explain to people about AP penetration, differences between flat trajectories and long range, which has a plunging fire, and you might see a ricochet. Anyway, lots of great information on the wiki. I recommend that you don't forget that the wiki's there, even though we have all these other great tools out there as well, because sometimes the wiki is the best place to find the right information. One of the tools I find particularly useful is the WoW's fitting tool. Now, I don't use every aspect of this webpage, which is probably common for everything that we've talked about in this video, but I will say there's some tools here that are pretty cool to use. The first one is called the fitting tool. You can click on this, you can select your ship from this kind of cascading window. So say we wanted to build a German, let's say we wanted to build a premium battleship, Odin build. We could choose this. It brings up all the metrics about the ship. We could choose some upgrades in here. Maybe it's secondary battery or no, hang on. Yeah, auxiliary armaments. We'd want to do don't burn so bad. I'm not sure if this is a great Odin build, so don't go crazy on me here. I'm just putting stuff on here. And maybe concealment. I don't know. We've got all this. We can then build our captain out. Let's say we build it wrong. And we got one more point. It's a terrible build. Don't put this on your Odin. But you can build all this out, and as you make all these changes, it updates all the numbers and stuff on this page. You can even put your signals on here and then choose which consumable you want to take. If you want to take a fighter versus a spotting aircraft. So this is all pretty well done. And the neat thing about this, of course, is you can build a configuration, take a screenshot of it, and share it with a friend. Another cool thing here is the Research XP tab. This is one that I use a lot, and people often ask me how I calculated all of this information. For example, for understanding which ship is the cheapest to grind for Research Bureau, we know that the answer is Haragumo, but how do we know? Well, WoW's fitting tool is probably how most people figured it out. You can click on the Hashidate and click on the Haragumo, and up here at the top it tells you 600 and 76,000 XP is the magic number. If we click again on Hashidate to Shimakaze, we can see it's 685. It's more. Zhao is 731. Yamato is 852. Come to the UK, is Daring cheaper? Nope, it's still more. 774 versus 676. So this is how we can find out what it costs to research from Hashidate all the way up to Haragumo, and compare that against other tier 10 grinds. So this is one of the great tools that's available here on WoW's Fitting Tool. Now, this does do the shortest path. It ignores modules you don't need. It teaches, it calculates it as cheaply as it possibly can. The other tool they've got on here is a ship comparison, and this is actually kind of annoying because you have to go back to the Fitting Tool and choose like the Griff and the Bougainville. You have to grab these URLs and then come here, you come to ship comparison, you can paste the URL in here, and then you grab the URL for the other one. It's just a little clunky. Delete the old one, put the new one in, and hit compare, and then it puts both the cruisers in here. You can actually build them however you would like, put some skills on there, and then you can compare the ship's attributes down at the bottom. It's a powerful tool, but the user interface is a little bit clunky. I have definitely used this. In fact, if you go back and watch my comparison of the Delny, Khabarovsk, and Grozavoy video, I used this extensively in there to help me with that. So I still find it to be a powerful tool. It's a little bit clunky to use, but what's neat about it is you can basically control the entire build, which so far as I know is not possible on things like Shiptool. Shiptool lets you compare base ships. This lets you compare entire builds. So WoW's Fitting Tool still is a very useful tool here on the ship comparison side. The WoW's Gamer blog is a very busy website that is not afraid to use color, but definitely does have some useful pages on it. So don't discount this website if you ever are sent a link to it. If you roll down here, we can see they've got a bunch of countdown timers for when events are going to happen to the servers, and I find this particularly useful for things like when is update 11.7 going to land. At the time of this recording, about 8 days and 6 hours from now, we're going to have 11.7. So that helps me to kind of understand when the current patch is ending and when the next one is going to start. This row up here shows when the public test server round started and when it's going to end. So obviously we're at 0 minutes, 0 seconds and everything because it's already started. And of course it ends here in about an hour and a half. So by the time you're watching this, the public test server will have been brought down. And this last one is interesting too. When does the Puerto Rico dockyard start? When does it end? I find this page to be pretty useful. I'll put a link to it down in the description below. Like I said, I know the WoW's Gamer blog is a really brightly covered. It just looks like a giant ad, but don't let that design language fool you. There is some useful information on this webpage. I apologize, but I'm going to put a very short and shameless plug in here. I think my YouTube channel is a great resource for players who are looking to be knowledgeable about the game. I don't cover every topic though, so I do recommend that you look into other YouTubers who are making great World of Warships content. Of course, as I would recommend to anybody, you should make sure that if people are talking about specs, numbers, performance, bugs or anything about that they've got some sources or they're doing legitimate testing on their channels. I think there's some really great creators out there who do thorough, legitimate testing and produce great content that keeps wargaming honest and keeps the community informed. You know, I shouldn't list people because I'm going to leave people out, but there are a bunch of great YouTube content creators for World of Warships that are helping to make great, useful content for the community. So go find some YouTubers that you like, hit subscribe on their channels, and take good care of them. I know that it is a huge deal when you guys support my channel and share that information with your friends and clans, so please do that for them as well. I didn't want to leave the topic of content creators with just YouTube because we also have a lot of folks doing work over on Twitch. Now this is my Twitch page. If you guys have never been here before, this is what it looks like. It's twitch.tv/ClydePlaysLive. I stream 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, but there's always someone streaming World of Warships. And maybe if I don't fit your schedule, that's fine. Don't worry about it. There's somebody great that you can watch at whatever time of day. Now, of course, I'm really here to talk about Twitch, not about my channel, but there's wonderful, talented streamers and informed chats on Twitch as well. Some chats are going to be full of chaos. Some chats are full of nerds trying to figure out what the best DPM cruiser is for a specific application. you'll find a stream that fits your needs if you come over and hang out with us on Twitch. Like I said, you can always come to my stream. I'd be happy to have you here. But of course, if you find another content creator that really suits you and fits your style and temperament, please support that content creator on Twitch. I know this looks like I'm in World of Warships, but this is actually a website. This is a web link that'll take you to the Armory. This is a really great tool because you can pop in here and I can spend my doubloons, I can see how much steel I have, I can see how much coal I have, whatever, without even launching the game client. We talked earlier about how long it takes to launch the game client sometimes, and this is much faster to load a web page. One of the other cool things that's neat about this is without launching the game client, I can come in here, scroll down here, and if there's a free item in the, for example, right now it's the British battleships thing, if I was missing one, I could just scroll down here and claim the free item without having to launch the whole game client. So having access to the Armory online is really great. The URLs for EU, NA, Asia, and RU are all different. I'll put those in the description below. But I just wanted to let you guys know that you can get to the Armory without launching the client. Just like the Armory, there is a web endpoint that can get you to your inventory. So I can come in here and look at modules and be like, oh, I don't need this Cherbourg A hull, and I am not in the game, but I can sell that hull and I will have those credits in the game the next time I log in. We'll sell the old fire control system as well. So just like I said with the Armory, you can get in here. You don't have to launch the client to take care of some business or to check something or to find out if you have credits that you just needed to come in here and actually just claim. You can do that without launching the game client in the inventory as well. Just like with the Armory and the inventory, you can also access your clan from the web browser. You can come in here, I can see how much oil we have, I could buy a building. If I wanted to do a clan upgrade, we could take a look at our clan members or manage and handle requests, things like that. So there you have it. That's my list of my favorite tools, websites, and resources to use for World of Warships. It's the kind of stuff that helps me stay informed. It helps me know what's coming up next, or maybe just helps me compare two ships or understand, what the best AP salvo from Battleship of the whole game is. I hope you guys found this entertaining, and more importantly, I hope you found it useful. If you did, please share it with a friend. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done that already, and of course, if you'd like to come hang out with us on Twitch, we do stream over there 3 times a week. I mentioned it earlier in the video, and we'd love to have you come join us at twitch.tv/ClydePlaysLive. I've also got a Discord. You'll find the link in the description below. I didn't even talk about Discord in this video, but there are a bunch of Discords that are super useful, including the Clyde Plays Discord, so please join us over there. If you don't do Discord, that's okay. That's why we have so many different kinds of resources, and you can utilize those instead. Until next time, guys, take care of each other. Be cool, be nice, and we will see you out there in the next battle. Take it easy, captains.